Motorboat? You play the motorboat? You motorboating son of a bitch, you old sailor, you.
Following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino, I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackal.
Welcome one, welcome all, welcome friends, welcome foes to another exciting, spooky, and very dark edition of Inside the Jackal's Head, right here live on PSN Radio, SoFlo Radio, and across the world of YouTube and everywhere else where we're going to be live and uncut. That's right, folks. As always, the show is live for you to listen to on my website, angelspinal.com, or the psn-radio.blogspot.com, as well as sofloradio.com, and the show page inside of the Jackal's Head, main show page, the Jackal's Head.blogspot.com. With the person who's joining me now, the man with the golden voice, has been following politics along just like myself. But first, let me tell you a little bit about this man and why I've been wanting to have him on the show for a long time. The man's name is Race Hobbs. He is a gentleman who does podcasting. He's a talented voiceover actor. He has had, his own network. He's a producer. He's a host. He's an all-around good guy. Semi-badass when it comes to doing this radio stuff. He is much better than me, so I'm being humble here. And the only person whose voice I say I could compare to is, again, my good buddy Mitch Phillips. And I'm like, it's for me, if I had to pick between you two and, death, I'll just be like, just kill me now. Because you guys are like the best of voices I've ever heard. And I'm not even kidding. Again, Race Hobbs. Long overdue. Thank you for being live here with me on Inside the Jackal's Head. Thank you, my friend.
It's a good place to be, Angel. Good place.
Oh my God! Listen to that. Go ahead.
Well, it's just an honor to be here. Thank you for the compliments, man. Like, we've known each other for a long, long time, and we've been in this media industry for a long, long time, and it's always, back in the good old days when we had our own podcast, and when it was just us doing us, before starting networks and all that. It was kind of a little bit different world for us, but now,
oh yeah,
keeping all the balls in the air is it's a tough game to play in.
You started around really almost the same time that I did, around 2008, 2010, around that era, doing podcasting, right?
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
Eyewitness
Radio was my first venture into podcasting, but I didn't really. I was live radio, and our shows were archived, and it wasn't. Wasn't like the podcasters, today where, they record everything and then they clean it up spotless and then deliver it to the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
We were exposed to live radio where, if something dropped or, somebody farted, or something.
It was on air, brother. Everybody knew it.
That's right. Everybody heard it just like I did, just like my guest did. So,
you know what I did about that? Because I often had issues back in the day, and it's funny you say that. I created a little persona that nobody knew about. I called him Little Pete, and he was my board guy. So every time something went wrong or I passed the wind on air, I would blame it on Pete. And he was my little Mexican worker that I illegally hired. And this is years ago before the whole border crisis. So talk about being ahead of the game, right?
Yeah, you were a step or two in front of everything, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, man. No, but, it's funny because back then it was so much more fun. I started on Blog Talk Radio, and I remember Jeremy Greer was the first person that said, you know what? You should join our network over here. And he was doing Shadows in the Dark Radio. Great show. And I was, already kind of doing, stuff on Blog Talk for a little bit, joined by a good buddy of ours, Jamie Havikan, and who I've recently, been communicating with again after a long time of being a ways, but he's a great guy, and I'm glad to see he's, doing well, and he's made it through COVID. It's
Yep.
the big C.
I was just on the line with him the other day because that hurricane slammed right into his backyard.
Yeah. And I was praying for the man because I'm in Florida, but I knew it wasn't going to hit us down here. But I know his area, man. It was, man, Inglewood, that area that got really, really knocked hard. So I was really, really praying for him and his family.
Yeah. The eye patched right over Sarasota. His house is right on the border of Sarasota and Inglewood. So, he was right there in it, man. They did good. Him and his mom and them did good. So, I was glad for that. Yeah, Jamie, he had IRN back, when I started going live with our show there.
Right.
And then, of course, he took on some partners that I couldn't jive with. So I had to go. I had to go. And when I did, I kind of looked around and I didn't like what I saw. You know what I mean? I didn't find any place really that I wanted to take my show. So I just started my own network then in 2011. So I did that for 10 years, sold it off, went to Utah, staffed it, trained everybody, and got it up and running for them. And when that contract ended in April of 2020, I came back to Arkansas, and that's when I resigned after 10 years with them, and doing what I'm doing now.
Now let's get to what you're doing now. How is the show different, or is it still the same Race Hobb from back then?
Well, back then, when I started,
because we all evolve, Race. We all matured.
Oh, absolutely. Back then, when I started KGRA, I had some partners, but they really didn't last long. And then there was a threat that the whole thing was going to go under. And my partner, Royce Fitzgerald, and good friend Royce Fitzgerald at the time, he was my co-host on Eyewitness Radio as well, my chief investigator at MUFON in our section. He was the last partner I had, and I just kind of talked to him and told him I don't think it's gonna stay afloat, man, because a lot of stuff had happened, and I was having to make a decision whether I wanted to continue to commit so much time, because see, there was five of us in the very, 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 very beginning. There was a graphics guy, there was a website guy, there was another producer that was supposed to come on. I was going to produce and engineer, and I was going to program. And then we had a website writer, like a staff writer, that was going to do articles and do all of our social media stuff and all that. And we lost two partners kind of right out of the gate because they actually were starting a brick and mortar business at the time in their hometown up in Utah. And so they dropped off first to make room for some other partners that could come in and help us out. Well, after we dropped them, I took on Margie K for a while. She came in, she was going to run our conference and do website stuff as well, and some other things, as well as run her own show and whatnot. And then some personal things came up in her world that took more of her attention away, and she had to step back as well. She wasn't able to hang out with us long. But she kept her show on the networks. Her show was the first show I ever produced on X News.
Oh, wow.
Well, long story short, the station didn't go under. I decided to commit. I stayed with it. I was doing 35 shows with 44 hosts, 7 days a week. Like, I was in this studio. I dropped my show and just took care of everybody else.
I know the feeling. It's tough.
Yeah. And I mean, I had commitments with some big A-list people, you know what I mean? That I didn't, I just couldn't walk away from them and leave them with nowhere to go. And so, yeah, I stayed with it, and thank God I did, because it worked out in the end. And then when I sold the station and went and set it up, the headquarters in Utah, because I actually sold it back to the two guys who originally were the first ones to quit. Their brick and mortar business did fast. They were starting up one of those vapor stores back then when they were just getting started. And so
that exploded too for that time. Yeah,
it did indeed.
Yeah,
they did real good, super good.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
And so they came back, and they heard that I was thinking about selling the station, and they came back and they put a bid in on it, and it wasn't the largest bid that I had, but it was good enough for me, because I knew they understood the original concept for what KGRA was created for. And so I just went ahead and kept my focus on those guys for a little while, and then the deal wound up going through. And so after the 2 years with them, and I came back to Arkansas, that's when COVID took off. And so, there was all that madness going on around us. And then I get this call from Margie K, my good friend, up in Kansas City. And she said, Race, I heard that you left, KGRA. And Angel, I was just like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And just like,
when you thought you were out.
Lobster movies, she made me an offer that I couldn't refuse.
It was straight out of The Godfather 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Exactly the same. Exactly. And so I just mulled it over for a couple of weeks, talked about it with the fam and everything, and wife and all. And I came back and I told her, yeah, I guess let's do it. She wanted to bring me on as the program director. Look, I didn't have to worry about legal. I didn't have to worry about payroll. I didn't have to worry about website. I didn't have to worry about social media. I didn't have to worry about marketing. I didn't have to worry about sales. I didn't have to worry about engineering and producing all the while. I could just do the program directing and the engineering and the producing.
Okay.
And so, and I was like, I think that would be fine. I think I can handle a quarter of what I was doing,
Right.
No problem. So, it was really refreshing, because coming to the Unnext network was, it was a really smooth transition. She gave me, I think, 32 days to get a roster together.
Wow.
I got hired like at the first,
you got a month.
yeah, the very 1st of October, and she wanted to launch on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
By Halloween, by that launch date, I had 18 shows committed. So we filled up a roster pretty good. We got it started, we got a good roster started in that 30 days. And we got it off the ground, and then we wanted to bring, we got our ASCAPs so we could play music, and we wanted to bring in some syndicated shows. So we started going and picking up some of those, and everything just came together. So we do video streaming, audio streaming, and all the major platforms. And then, I'm working 5 days a week, and on weekends, it's all automated. So it's all fresh content, but it's programmable. So
It's a lot easier now with
It's been a,
technology. It's really technology has been a great help for us podcasters. It really has. Yeah.
you're exactly right. Cause see
Yeah.
what I got, I digressed. What I was intended to say was back then,
Mm-hmm.
we offered a service for people who wanted to do a live show and a podcast because we had the hardware and the software married together in such a way that we could, just like we're sitting right now, I could connect with Richard Dolan in his bathrobe
Yeah.
and his flippers. And he would sit down at his desk with his microphone and he would deliver a 2-hour radio show with his content and
Yep.
no one would ever be the wiser. And he didn't
Right.
have to worry about punching any of the buttons. All he had to do was look at the clock and know when we had the commercial, right?
Mhm.
When we had a stop set due. And before the show, you do show prep. We've got commercials at 20, 40, and 50. You know what I mean? And he would know. He'd write it down. And so that's how all the shows went off. I would hang up with them at 5 till, and in 4 minutes I would connect with the next show and get them off at the top of the hour. And I did that from 6 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I had to edit all of it and upload it to the servers. So that was the service we provided then. Now you can just plug and play. You can just plug right into a program and stream right to it and do your thing and get off, and it's all done for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
everything we did manually back then is now pretty much like streamlined audio and video, and it's just automated, so you don't really have to do a whole lot anymore.
Yeah. Now the only people that spend time doing post stuff are like the nerds who really enjoy like adding little pieces of flair to videos and like
You
this
can do
guy here.
anything you want anymore, especially with AI coming online.
Oh my God! Let me tell you, I have a buddy of mine who does a podcast also on YouTube and on PSN, Zodwriter, and he's doing an entire movie using AI. And it's amazing. It's looking. I've seen some of the footage. It looks like something you would expect the $80 to $100 million budget. And he's literally doing it with AI, sitting in his home. He has like a $20 fee here, $15 fee there for like different websites, and he's putting everything together. And I'm like, he's showing me footage, and I'm like, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, bro, check this out. And then I'm like, how are you accomplishing this? This is like Hollywood should be crazy right now because, artificial intelligence and technology is just crazy. And for those of us who do shows and then talk about paranormal and UFOs and stuff, I mean, this stuff is going to make it completely impossible to be able to say what's real and what's not when we watch videos on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, it's been that way for
Yeah.
The military and government assets like that. They've had this stuff for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is new for us, not for them.
A lot of the stuff we were seeing on social media 20 years ago was stuff they threw out there.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that we're gonna, always get little droplets of technology, and what is new to us, they've been using for probably like 10, 20 years, maybe even longer. Like virtual reality. Remember when that was a big thing for like 20 minutes? But remember, right before that became a big thing, we had the movie Lawnmower Man. Remember that movie?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was talking about that technology before it became mainstream. And they made that movie because they were told, hey, we have this technology is gonna like revolutionize a lot of people the way they play video games in the future. Let's start getting them conditioned now to accept it. And Hollywood, made that movie. They made other movies using VA virtual technology. And now that's mainstream. Now, of course, AI is doing all these amazing things. It's like a gradual conditioning, but technology is just crazy. And again, to automate, like networks and stuff, and for what we do. I mean, it's really making it very, very easy and affordable. Also, because back in the day, man, it was so expensive
Oh, I
to
know it.
have your own podcast. I mean, Blog Talk Radio was it was like a car mortgage or a car payment. It was a note.
Yeah, it didn't start out expensive, but by the time you had to
Yeah.
get what you wanted to be professional and all that, then all that added up and charged you out the ass for it.
Oh yeah, I always loved the shows that like would have the host do the whole thing on their cell phone and had like really really bad reception, but then they were like brag about, yeah, I'm a big podcaster. I do my show on Blog Talk Radio, and you can hear the whole time it's like, dude, you're using your like 3G Google phone, like flip flop. Like you're not even using a good phone. It's like this is like pre like good smartphones. Stop
Yeah.
bragging.
Flip phone.
I'm a podcaster. Oh yeah, what do you use? My flip phone. It's so good. It works great.
The early days they were scant, but I'm telling you, it didn't take long for these smartphones to take over everything.
Yeah.
And this is another thing you could go an entire series of radio shows on, but I've said this so many times. It's just it amazes me, man, how someone could invent something that everybody would have to have, and they would call it a smartphone. That would completely make everybody as dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know what? I say that without worried about hurting anybody's feelings. If your feelings are hurt over what I just said, get a helmet,
Yeah.
It's rough out here in the real world. Okay. Because at the end of the day, kids can't read a face clock.
Mm-hmm.
Parents now, like, they don't read anymore. They Google shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody got to turn this off because Google just turned on.
They're always listening, Mr.
Oh yeah,
Hobbs.
yeah.
They're
See,
always listening.
this is the coolest thing that since the wheel, and everybody's got to have it, and they have to have a new one every year. And
I'll disagree with one thing on that. The toilet paper, I think, is a little bit more important.
Yeah. Well, that ain't no lie. But I mean, it's just a box of sensors, man, that listens to everything you say, and it broadcasts everything you say, and you can be found within like 3 meters, followed wherever you go, whenever you go. Every keystroke, every call you make, every email you send is kept. Everything you do in communication with this is 100% recorded. It's all kept.
Yeah.
And it's all mainframed, and every app that you have on your phone, every icon that you have on your phone, like, every one of those little icons, you can't really see that, can you? But every one of those little icons is just a screen full of them. Every one of those has rules and terms of agreement that we've all agreed to in order to use it.
And nobody reads them. We just like, oh, well, okay, I agree. Yeah.
Every keystroke.
Sign your life away. I agree.
When I saw Joe Rogan talking about TikTok, I was appalled that that app, just being in proximity to that PC tower, could dock with it, and then all the files on that, they could have access to all my files on that tower.
Yeah.
Or this laptop over here.
Yeah.
Or my smart TV. Or, whatever it can sync to. It does it. It reaches out, and then, it's just the surveillance. Hitler is probably about the size of a pencil from rolling over in his grave due to all this surveillance we've got today on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had
Yep.
fathers watching mothers and mothers watching their sisters and their kids and neighbors watching neighbors and ratting each other out. You said anything against him, you ended up disappearing and in some labor camp somewhere, or, you know, and they've got it down to a science literally now. Like, we're all running around carrying these little spy boxes, and you know, we call it just a wonderful thing called smartphone.
Remember in the 90s race, when everybody was talking about after the Behold the Pale Horse book came out, and we all, you know, read William Cooper's book. I don't know how big of a Cooper fan you were, but I was a Cooper fanatic. And, you know, I remember a lot of people, you know, talking amongst certain groups about we're going to get chipped. In the future, there's going to, you know, we're going to get chipped and they're going to know everything. And, you know, you got to be careful because they're going to, like, put a chip and you're going to be, like, a slave to the system.
Yep.
Who needs a chip? We have a smartphone. That's it. You don't really need to be implanted. But the chip is coming thanks to Elon Musk and Neuralink.
Well, I think that's a different thing. That's a medical evaluation. You know, that's not.
I hope they keep it for that. For that,
Well, you know, it's just like toilet paper. You know, toilet paper is a wonderful thing, but there are places where toilet paper has literally started riots.
This is true. Prisons.
Every invention is just about is for the good, and then somebody always has to pervert it. Someone always has to use it for the dark side of things. So
that's what I'm afraid of with Neuralink. And I don't think it'll be Elon Musk. I think it'll be just some rogue person who uses the technology, and next thing you know, we don't even know it, but some rogue part of government is, you know, demanding chips on babies' brains, and we have a whole generation of babies raised with chips, and they don't even know it.
I would venture to guess
It happens easily.
like super soldiers have already been tested with it.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Pain receptors and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I mean, like my 18-year-old daughter started having seizures. I mean, my daughter at 18 started having seizures. She's much older now, but I remember going
somewhere if she's listening. She was like, "Thank you, Daddy. I'm still 18."
You know, I immersed myself in learning about that and about epilepsy and honest to goodness, man, they literally have specialists, man, who can drill a hole in your head, go in with a laser and cauterize nerves in your brain and stop your seizures from ever happening again.
Yeah.
And they have a massively huge high number success rate. It's like 98% success rate. And that was 2000. They were doing that in at least 2007, 2008. And I'm sure it went back before that probably, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, remember, they've been doing these kind of studies since back in the 40s, 50s with lobotomies and things like, you know, they've been working on the brain for a long time. And that was brutal back then. But, you know, doctors have come a long way with, you know, brain implants, well, not implants, but, you know, brain surgeons and working on different parts of people with paralysis and, you know, the neurological diseases. When my mom had cancer,
I'm with you, bro.
She had tumors.
100%. I'm with you that I hope that they don't use that for anything bad, because the last thing we need is a bunch of cyborgs running around.
Oh man, I remember when my mother was ill and she started having tumors in her brain. I thought they were going to have to go in and carve, you know, the tumors out every time, because she had like 5 or 6 little tumors that popped up, and she passed away of cancer. in 2016, which I have another story about 2016 I'm going to get to. But when these tumors started to happen, I was really worried. Oh my God, they're going to have to start carving her head. And they did everything with laser. And I would see the result, and I'm like, and she would go in, have the procedure. They'll tell me the results. They'll show me the, like the scan of her brain, show me the before and after, and it'll be gone. I'm like, what? And she'll go home that same night, no carving of the head. I'm like, that's amazing. And just imagine, this is 2016, what the next 10, 20 years medically, if we're still a country and we're still able to grow and evolve better and not be a dictator filled nation under the CCP in Russia. Oh boy, that's another topic. But if we're still around and technology keeps evolving, I could only imagine how many people are going to get saved just by that, without the need of, chemotherapies and all these other just man, it's evil. These therapies is just, if people knew the history of what actual chemotherapy is and where the actual usage of it came from and how it was Agent Orange basically at one point, and they used it on people that have cancer. I mean, just think about that. Put that, let that sink in, and that's somehow going to be beneficial. I saw this myself, and it does not work. But the technology with the lasers, man, that stuff's amazing. So
It is, and it's really gotten a lot better, in time. But I saw someone wrote something the other day about Pfizer. Man, they were talking about Pfizer's been around since the 1800s, this and that, and they still haven't ever ended any disease.
yeah, true. Yeah,
And I was just like, holy cow.
yeah.
How did they get so filthy rich? Because they have more money than most world economies.
Mm-hmm. And they don't cure anything.
When you get that big, there's really nothing you can do. And especially in this day and age where people with backbones are few and far between anymore. Everybody's up for sale. And when our politicians were bought and paid for with American money by American corporations, it was different. But now they're bought and paid for by foreign nations and foreign governments. And that is where you get what we've got today.
Yeah. This is, again, why I'm voting for Trump again, because he was the first guy who said, not only is everything fake news, all these politicians, they're all bought and paid for. You know what happened for me? Because that's the donor crowd. And they're all the billionaires. Remember that in the debate?
Yeah.
Like that's the billionaires that are applauding them, because I'm not bought, I'm not paid for. And he is the one and only, I think, that really is true. I mean, he was the first one that told Hillary, if you want me to stop using the loopholes that you created for your billionaire buddies, then why did you make the law? When they were trying to criticize his taxes for using the same things that other billionaires are using. It's amazing. But when I started hearing Trump say these things out loud, and he's a billionaire, and I'm like, damn right. He sounds like one of us, and that's why he got my vote. I'm independent. I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I left the Democrat Party because of the radical, aspect of what was going on there.
You're not alone, bro. You're definitely
Yeah.
not alone. The Democratic Party, they left true Democrats behind a couple
Correct.
of years ago.
Yeah.
They've just gone so far. I don't even want to say left. They're going a whole new direction.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be for the working man. You know what I mean? I've been a conservative my whole life, though. And I've, been middle, lower class my whole life. I'm not for, the transgender thing. I don't get I don't get this messing with kids shit. You know what I mean?
Amen.
There's a
Yeah.
reason. There's a reason that they're, you know. And I was talking with some guys the other day, man. You know, deer camp, and I said, you know, because they were like, how come they don't go be with like the elderly in rest homes and retirement homes and stuff? Why don't they go play their little puppet games with them? Why don't they go sing and dance for them? And I said the answer to that is simple, because they're living a fantasy life. They're living in a dreamland. And the only people that will understand that are kids. Because, you know, to kids, when you're little, everything is real somewhere.
Right.
You watch Star Trek or Star Wars or something, you believe that that's real somewhere when you're a kid.
Yeah. And your brain's a sponge, so you take everything in. Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, these people are just men playing dress up, living in fantasy land, and that's all it is. And they need to take it back into their bedrooms behind the walls of their homes and do whatever they want to do there, and stop pushing it on everybody like it's our business. It's none of our business. Right. And we don't want to hear about where you put your private parts. We don't care. And you're not special. There is nothing special about you, because you can dress up like a woman when you're a biological male. When you're a biological male playing against biological females in sports, you are a loser. You can't handle men's sports, so you go to women's to feel special, and you're not. And if your sensibilities are so impaired that tears you up, like these people with Trump deranged syndrome, and it's exactly what it is.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was driving back from Springfield a little while ago, and like some people saw my Trump sticker on the back of my Tahoe, and they pulled up and looked at us, gave us these ugly looks. They went around in front of us and they took off. So I floored it and went back around in front of them and stayed in front of them and made them look at that sticker far as I could. I had them stuck between a car here and a car there. They couldn't get around. And so they would just hit the brakes and fall way behind until I forgot about them. And then they'd come flying by doing 120 miles an hour. It was hilarious how a little sticker can trigger somebody, because it's not really funny, because it's that fake news. Because see, Donald Trump is a civilian, Angel. He's a civilian. And we'll never have another one in our lifetime in that White House. We never had one before him.
They've all been bought and paid for. Yeah.
He is not a bought and paid. He gets an F, dude, for statesmanship. Calling people names and playing that bully shit is not statesmanlike. And saying he says a lot of things that should be kept behind closed doors, because most people really don't understand how all that works. So they really don't have the context they need to be able to absorb it properly. He needs to keep some things, under the cuff. But when it comes to being a shrewd, harsh businessman that is not going to get took on the business table, around the business table, when it comes to nationalism, I'm all for it, because we can't help anyone else until we're super strong and in shape ourselves, financially and otherwise. And we're not. We're not on the same page. We're in the hole, trillions and trillions of dollars. And we can't keep paying for peace around the world. We can't keep paying our allies to be our friends. If you don't want to kick it with us.
And here's the worst part about that. Not only are we paying for what I believe are proxy fake wars now in Ukraine and Russia, but they're going to pay for the rebuild of these cities, right? The when the whole thing is
Biden
so
said
settled.
it's a loan to the Ukraine, that the Ukraine's going to pay it back.
And no.
That is the biggest pile of bull crap I've
If
ever
Kamala's
heard.
elected,
Well, next to all of our taxpayer dollars have to pay off these kids' college loans, and during the election season, kids, don't forget, I'm going to pay off your college loans.
The funny thing about that is the idiots that still believe that, the young kids that believe that. Remember, kids, these same people that are saying that have been trying that for years. It's never going to happen. It'll literally destroy this country and destroy the education system even more, because if we have to pay back,
the schools are getting money.
Yeah, no.
The
I know they're going to get their
schools
money.
are getting paid billions of
By
dollars
us.
right now as we speak.
But it's going to get worse on us because the taxpayers are going to have to pay.
Of course it is. But,
Yeah, so the kids think, nobody's going to pay. You're going to pay. We're all going to pay.
These colleges are reaping the money. They're getting the money. And they're also doing what this government tells them to do with this woke shit. So these kids become voters because they got their school loans paid off. So they're Democratic voters for life because of what we did or what the government did. And then the colleges are in the government's pockets for giving them our tax money, because they're going to have millions and multi-millions and billions of dollars back in their coffers all in one big shot. And then, we're left holding the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Biden's ass and Hunter Biden's dancing off into the sunset, laughing at us.
Yeah.
And Joe, Angel, you got it 100% right, man. Trump is, he's gonna win, and if he does, there's no doubt that it's rigged. There's no doubt about it, because I'm seeing people out here on the roads and on the streets, and in the barber shops and stuff, Latinos, black people, white people, Asian people, they're all sick and tired of this crap. And, traditionally conservatives poll low. So you can tack on another 5-6% out of all the people that don't take polls, because I don't. I never participate in polls.
Me neither. Yeah, and I'm the perfect demographic. I'm Latino. I'm Cuban American. I live in Florida. I'm currently seeking disability because I'm injured, so my health is very important. I'm an independent voter. All these, checks that both party needs.
Marking the box.
I mark almost every single box they need, and I'm telling you right now, in my community, Race, in the Latin community here in Florida, I would say about 90% of everybody that I know is voting for Trump. And we're talking about most of my friends are Latino or African American. That's, down here. And my online friends are a little bit different because I get to talk to a lot more people that I normally would interact with in, base where I'm at. But I tell you what, it's something that even people that voted Democrat are starting to wake up. And it's not about being woke, because when you're woke, you're a shithead. But when you awaken yourself to the reality of what's been done, is when you are really, really out of the matrix. Now, I'll tell you, I'm a Cuban American. Like I said, I came here in the 1980 Mariel boat lift legally because 2 presidents signed off on it. It was a legal, thing that happened. They allowed us to come in, but something that's happening now that Trump.
When you came.
Oh, I'll tell you real quick. But let me tell you this: when we came in, we stayed initially in Miami. It was under a bridge, kind of like Scarface. Remember that scene?
Yeah,
for a little bit, and then we ended up moving over to California for a while. And we stayed there for about 4.5, almost 5 years. My dad was in Spain. He had left a year before we left, so it was just me, my mother, and my older half brother on the boat. And we got there through a lottery. Okay, that's how we were able to get on the boat in Cuba. And the rest of the people that were outside of that lottery, and this is why I connect this to Trump, is the rest of that lottery outside of it
Prison.
were people in prison, mental institutions. The worst that Castro had, he released it on America. This is why Scarface was made, because of the simple fact that that is, while a fake movie, is based on stuff that Miami really experienced during
A
the
lot of
whole
Cubans came
migration.
here, bro. A lot of Cubans came
Yeah,
to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, right here in Barling, Arkansas.
yeah,
They rioted, man, and came out, and they ran into a little town of a bunch of gun-toting, gun-loaded motherfuckers. I'm sorry about that, but like, I mean,
that's
these
cool.
people were like drinking lemonade out their front yards, dude, with shotguns, like waiting on them, and they turned around and went back to the army base.
Can you imagine being like a bunch of like old Jewish guys in South Beach and like, what the hell's going on? All these Cubans not showing up. And like back then, it was like, really, you came down here to retire and die. That was the
Yeah. Yep, that's the way it was.
yeah.
That's the way. But you know what? The reality of how absurd and totally moronic most of this stuff is. Nancy Pelosi said in an interview, she said, people take in information differently today than they did in the past, and it's going to change the way everything is done. And she couldn't be more right. She couldn't have been more correct in what she said, because everybody's watching TikTok and YouTube shorts, and everything is sound bites anymore. And, and whoever owns Google, whoever owns operating systems, whoever owns Microsoft, right? These guys, we know their names, but I'm not even going to say them. But these people can do whatever they want to do because they have the information. They sell if I'm shopping for shorts or shoes, they sell the information they've collected on what I looked at, how long I looked at it, if I bought it, if I saved it to my cart, all that information is saved. And every one of us has a profile. Every one of us has a jacket. Every one of us. And so, what Trump said about being surveilled and about, standing in the breach between them and us, I believe that that's exactly what he's doing. I don't agree. Yeah. I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with how he says a lot of what he says. But that's that New Yorker in him. My country, Arkansas self tells me that that's just the way I've always imagined New Yorkers being. They don't.
And he's cleaned up the language. Believe me, this is the last 8 years that we've heard Trump. He's been very clean because he has that New Yorker style of him. And when he started running,
they pencil neck shift and stuff like that. It's harmless. It's like harmless, but that's what guys that make billion-dollar deals do behind the scenes. They talk about people like they're punks, like they're the punks that they are. And Trump just happens to do it in front of everybody.
And better than everybody.
In a nice way, because I'm sure he could say it a lot worse, bro. You know what I'm saying? But
when he first ran when he first started running his race in 2015, he said, first of all, I want to make clear the way I speak, and don't get offended. I use certain language in the way I speak might offend somebody, but I'm a New Yorker, and I'm telling you, the people that know me and know this is going to be the right thing for America, because I'm America first. Forget what I say, just understand what I mean. And I was like, what the hell did he mean by that? I know you sound like I've heard you for years. Like to me, Trump wasn't just like somebody that I didn't know of. Seeing him on The Apprentice, I used to watch him on Oprah back in the '90s when she was like, "You should run for president." Then
It
he
was
does, and
man. It
now
was clear as day. It was clear as day,
yeah,
bro.
and now she's like,
Oprah,
"He's Satan."
yeah, all of them turned. They turned, man,
Yeah,
because think about this. Barack Obama, I voted for him, man, to see a black president in my lifetime. It was an honor, you know what I mean? But I mean, like, they started a lot of the stuff, not a lot, all of the stuff that Biden came in and took over and reinstated. And then, of course, Biden did things Biden's way, but that he couldn't do under Obama. But all of this activism, and it's okay to take to the streets and burn shit down, and all of that acorn crap, from back in Obama's days, where they were dirty and they did shit dirty. But and it's the same kind of thing where you see Kamala Harris paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to bus people from one city to another to go to her events so that she has people there.
no,
You
but
cannot tell
remember she paid to
in this
get
election. You just can't do it when Donald Trump has 100,000 people out in a field in Pennsylvania.
But remember, Kamala also paid how many hundreds of thousands of dollars back in 2020 to bail out rioters from BLM, and she said an entire thing.
That woman couldn't lead trannies to the bathroom. Okay, politically incorrect. She couldn't do it.
No,
she couldn't do it. She couldn't. The people that are fighting for her to win are those people that are in positions that aren't elected positions.
Mm-hmm.
They're lifetime jobs that they've got in the military and in the government where they're not elected, but they're running the show.
Right. And most importantly,
she did that interview with, I know we're just about out of time, but she did that interview with Brett Baer, bro. And she avoided telling him
everything
when she knew that Biden was compromised. She avoided that at all costs. Bringing up Trump as if somehow he had something to do with it. I mean, you cannot deflect the fact that everything she said she's gonna do, she could have done because she's been in office.
That is correct, yeah. And she's not gonna do anything different. It's gonna be the same garbage that we've experienced. And one thing I will say, it's not just her. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, all these people are behind the entire thing. They want to keep us in this sleep, this matrix, this la la land to keep power. And for our people in the podcasting, those that follow stuff like ufology, for example, do you think they're going to give you disclosure? These bunch of liars. Do you think they're going to tell you about what's going on up there? The people that keep lying to you, they say, "Oh, we're interested." Hillary Clinton has been interested. Her husband was president. They found out what happened. Obama was president, and he knows what's going on, but nobody tells you the truth. You know what's important, though? When Trump was president, what did he do? Space Force, and people laughed at it. I think Space Force was not just to check out for like meteors and stuff like that.
No, man, we're locking it down up there.
Yeah, we know what's going on. Yeah, we know what's going on, and it's a very important project. And I think that's something that in the future we're going to look at and be like, that's genius, having that incorporated to the military complex. And the military industrial complex got mad because a lot of the funds is going to that, but that's very important. And the military industrial complex, unfortunately, runs the world, and that's something that right now the Democrats are completely in line with, and it's very scary because I think they're the ones that don't want disclosure to happen. And for those who think the disclosure is going to happen through the left, you're completely out of your bonkers, out of your mind. It's not going to happen. And real quick, there's a story I wanted to get to from MUFON talking about UFOs.
All right.
which deals with you directly. So I want to let you know this. This happened in 2016. As I said, my mother passed on early that year, so I was very bummed. And at the end of the year, they had the MUFON Symposium in Orlando, and my people from Skywatchers Radio, which was on Dark Matter with Art Bell, they were like, "Come on, Angel, we got to do this. We got to go out there and represent for Dark Matter." And I was like, you know what? It'll get my head out of the nonsense. I'll go. So we did the whole thing. We had a table. We did, broadcasting. We got to meet all the greats. Stan Friedman, rest in peace. Kathleen Martin was there. Got their book signed, disclosure, or captured. Met a lot of really cool people. But the funniest things kept happening. I kept being confused for you. And this happened a couple times, which
Bless your
he's
heart.
not here. He's not here now. The other guy who was, my sidekick here, he was there with me one time when we're walking. I had my hat on. I had a little goatee, kind of like yours there, and glasses, so I could see, the resemblance. And I'm walking. We're talking about what we're going to talk about in the broadcast and all that stuff. And I hear from the back, I hear, "Hey, Race." And I don't think it was for me. Right? That's not my name. So I'm still walking. They're like, "Race." And then I hear, "God damn it, Race Hobbs." And I'm like, "What?" And I turn around and I'm like, maybe it's me. I don't know. And there was a lady that was directly in connection with the symposium. And she looked at me. She started talking to me like if I was you. And she started telling me, "Oh, are you gonna broadcast? Because we really would love to have you." And I'm looking at her like, "Hold on, do you think I'm Race Hobbs?" And she goes, "Yeah." And they go, "No, I'm Angel Espino, completely different show." She's like, "Oh my God, you're not Race Hobbs?" And I'm like, "No." And I took my hat off, and her eyes, like she looked like she was on ecstasy, like pupils blew up the whole 9 yards. She was like, "Oh
That's
goodness.
funny.
I am so sorry. I thought you were Race Hobbs." And I'm like, "It's okay." And then it happened a couple more times with different people. And I'm like, I guess legit, me and Race are twins, brothers from a different mother. And it speaks how well, you love politics as I do. We were cut up the same kind
That's
of a
awesome.
flavor. And we had the same kind of glasses. I had the same goatee look, beard back then.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of grown a little out of control, as some of the kids
Yeah,
would
you
say.
didn't cut yours. I cut mine.
Yeah, but I often go back and I'm like, that's awesome because I always
What
want
year was that?
that was at the end of 2016, and it was the Orlando Symposium. I got video of it on YouTube. I'll send it to you some so you can check it out. It was really cool, man. I got to kick with Stanton Friedman for a while, and we got to talk in person, and man, what a good guy that guy was. I love Stan Freeman. Rest in peace. But and it happened, like I said, three times, where they totally thought I was you. I was honored, and I was like, "That's cool, man. Whenever I ever interview Race, I gotta tell them the story."
I don't know if that's a compliment or a curse. Oh my God, that's great though, man. I didn't know that. Like, I went to that event. I was there, and then I went to.
They probably confused me for you. They were like, "Hey, Race, what? Turn
I went
around."
to an event down in Sebring, Florida.
Oh, okay.
For an event down there south of Orlando for Paula Harris at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was there for the symposium in 2018 in Irvine in LA. And then I did the one in Vegas after that, and then that's the last one I went to for MUFON. But that's funny, man. I was really big into MUFON back then, and
Me too.
I did the MUFON show and all that. So, that was probably, that's probably why.
Yeah, at one point they were like, "Do you want to, speak and give a lecture?" And I'm like, "Slow your roll, Yoko Ono. You're gonna break the Beatles here, because none of my guys are ready to go on stage, and I haven't prepped for anything like that. I'm doing my podcast. I'm happy to be here. I don't think I'm ready to be in front of a large crowd and start, talking about something prepared with."
Yeah, that's the fun
Should have
part.
told me that about a couple of months ago. Maybe I would have prepared something.
It's fun.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, we're just a bit past. I kept you on a little bit longer. I know you got to run. Thank you so much for being here. But I want to give you the honor before you go to tell the audience that is going to watch this later and the ones that are listening live still on the network, both PSN and SoFlo. Tell them how to, get your show, and when they can hear you, they can follow you, your website links, give them the whole neon orange. You could go ahead and plug your to your audience and my audience, so we could, cross.
Yeah, absolutely, man. First of all, dude, thank you for having me, Angel. It's been a long, long time, and when you reached out, I don't do these interviews a whole lot much anymore. Just and you were just wanting to sit down and talk and shoot the shit, and I was all for it. So getting a chance to catch up with you after 10 years, 12 years, shit, it's worth it. You know what I mean? So I thank you for that. But for what I'm doing now, I'm working over at the Unnext Network. Thank you for letting me plug it here on your wonderful platform, unnextnetwork.com. We're doing paranormal and alternative talk there, just like, you've always done, we've always done. And I'm programming over there, and it's just been a lot of fun. And, having a job where I still get to work from home, and I still get to do what I love and listen to these stories and follow these mysteries of the world is really cool. And I'll be glad when we get through this political season and get Donald Trump in the White House, and then we can get back to business.
Amen, brother. Amen. Again, what's the link that everybody can go to? Give it real quick.
Unnext Network. It's unxnetwork.com. It's just short for
Excellent.
unexplained. Everything unexplained is over there. That's what we deal with, all the crazy.
There you go. That's what we do here on PSN and SoFlo. We help each other out because we're all a big community. And God bless you, man.
Right. That's right.
Thank you for doing what you do for the last decade plus. Keep doing what you do, and keep plugging away. Fight, 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 like Trump said.
God.
You know what to do in November? Vote. Get your friends out, your family members, everybody get the MAGA hats on. Go out there and make your vote count peacefully and patriotically. Make your voices heard. Not just you, Race Hobbs. Not just you listening in on audio, but you watching on YouTube and DLive and all over the internet. Every platform, Rumble, Odyssey, we're everywhere. So everybody who's watching, it's very important. Go out there and do what you got to do. This is 2024, and we need to get to 2025 in one piece. Trump is the man. Peace and one love.